Hey everyone, Darren here. Let's be real. Homework. It's practically a universal language, right up there with awkward first dates and the desperate search for a clean pair of socks on laundry day. We've all been there, staring at a textbook like it holds the secrets to the universe, while simultaneously contemplating the profound philosophical question of whether a slice of pizza counts as a balanced breakfast. Spoiler alert, I'm not here to judge. But what if I told you it doesn't have to be a constant battle? What if, instead of dreading homework, you could actually, dare I say it, sort of, enjoy it? Okay, maybe not enjoy, but at least make it suck less. Because let's be honest, even the most ambitious among us would rather be hanging out with friends, binge-watching that show everyone's talking about, or finally figuring out how to perfectly fold a fitted sheet. Well, my friends, I'm here to tell you that there is hope. I used to be that student drowning in a sea of assignments, convinced that sleep was a mythical creature reserved only for those who'd figured out the secrets of time travel. But then, something changed. I stumbled upon a few simple strategies, 5 to be exact, and they completely transformed my homework game. These 5 steps changed my life. At least they changed how I handle homework, and they might do the same for you. So, buckle up, grab your notebooks and maybe a snack or two, because let's be real, snacks make everything better, and let's dive into the 5 steps that will help you conquer homework and reclaim your evenings. Let's be honest, sometimes the sheer size of a homework assignment can be enough to make you want to crawl under your bed and hibernate until summer break. You know that feeling, right? You open your textbook, see the syllabus stretching out before you like an endless desert, and suddenly, even the thought of opening a bag of chips feels like too much effort.
Take, for example, that massive history project looming over you. You know, the one where you have to analyze the entire history of, the entire Roman Empire. Yeah, that one. Just the thought of it probably has you tempted to fake a case of the flu. Trust me, I've been there.
But here's the thing, the secret to tackling these monstrous tasks is surprisingly simple. It's all about breaking them down into smaller, more manageable chunks. Think of it like eating an elephant. You wouldn't even attempt to devour the whole thing in one bite, right? You'd start with one bite, then another and another, until eventually you've conquered the entire beast. Okay, maybe not the best analogy, especially if you're vegetarian, but you get the point. So, how do you apply this to your homework? Well, let's stick with the history project example. Instead of freaking out about the entire Roman Empire, start by dividing the project into smaller, more manageable tasks. Maybe your first goal is to spend an hour researching primary sources. That's it, just 1 hour. The next day, you could focus on creating a detailed outline of your main arguments. And the day after that, maybe you dedicate some time to writing just 1 paragraph of the introduction. See, suddenly it doesn't seem so daunting anymore, does it? The key here is to create a realistic schedule for yourself, breaking down the larger project into smaller, bite-sized tasks that you can tackle one at a time. And don't forget to prioritize. If you know you have a big test coming up, maybe focus on studying for that before tackling your history essay. But here's the real magic of this approach. Every time you check off one of those smaller tasks, you get a little hit of dopamine, that feel-good chemical in your brain that tells you you're awesome. And trust me, those little wins add up. Suddenly, you're not just staring down a mountain of homework, you're scaling it, 1 step at a time, feeling a sense of accomplishment with every stride. And that, my friends, is a game changer. So, the next time you find yourself facing a homework assignment that feels as intimidating as a Shakespearean monologue, remember the power of breaking it down. Divide and conquer, my friends. Divide and conquer. Okay, let's talk about distractions. We live in a world overflowing with them. A world where notifications pop up faster than you can say procrastination. Seriously, our phones are like tiny black holes of attention, sucking us in with the promise of cute animal videos and the latest memes. And let's not even get started on the siren song of social media, where FOMO reigns supreme and everyone else's lives seem infinitely more interesting than our own. But here's the hard truth. When it comes to conquering homework, distractions are the enemy. They're the little gremlins that whisper in your ear, tempting you with the allure of instant gratification while your textbooks gather dust.
So, what's the solution? Simple: create a distraction-free study zone. Think of it as your fortress of focus, a sanctuary where textbooks are worshipped and procrastination is banished.
Now, this doesn't mean you need to build a soundproof bunker in your basement, although, if you have the resources, I won't judge. Creating a distraction-free zone can be as simple as finding a quiet corner in your house or heading to your local library. The key is to find a space where you can consistently focus without being interrupted. Next, it's time to tackle the digital distractions. And let's be real, this is where the real battle lies. Remember those notification-happy phones I mentioned earlier? Yeah, those need to go. Or at least, they need to be silenced and placed far, far away from your workspace. Turn off those social media alerts, silence your group chats, and resist the urge to check your email every 5 seconds. Remember, the goal here is to create a space where you can fully immerse yourself in your work, free from the constant pings and dings of the digital world. Now, I know what you're thinking, John, this all sounds great, but I don't have a spare room to dedicate to my studies. And that's okay. Remember, creating a distraction-free zone is more about intentionality than square footage. Even if you're working from your kitchen table, you can still create a dedicated study space. Clear away any clutter, gather all your necessary materials, and let your family know that when you're at that table, it's study time. The important thing is to create a clear separation between your study space and your relaxation space. This will help your brain associate that particular area with focus and productivity, making it easier to get down to business when you sit down to work. Your brain needs to be actively engaged to really absorb information. It's like trying to get in shape by just thinking about going to the gym. You've got to actually lift the weights, run the miles, do the thing. John, passive learning is kind of like watching a movie. You're entertained, maybe even mildly interested, but you're not really retaining much. Active learning, on the other hand, is like writing and directing your own play. You're calling the shots, making the connections, and really understanding the material on a deeper level. So, if passively rereading notes isn't cutting it for you, it's time to ditch the highlighter and pick up some more engaging tools. Trust me, your brain will thank you for it. So what exactly is active learning? Well, it's all about finding ways to make learning a more engaging and, dare I say, enjoyable experience. It's about transforming yourself from a passive recipient of information into an active participant in the learning process. John, think of it like this. Imagine you're trying to learn how to bake a cake. You could read the recipe 100 times, maybe even memorize it word for word, but until you actually get your hands dirty, measure out the ingredients, and feel the dough between your fingers, you're not really learning, are you? Active learning is all about finding ways to do the learning, not just passively consume it. This could involve anything from summarizing your notes in your own words, to explaining a concept to an imaginary audience, or a very patient pet. One of my favorite active learning techniques is something called the Feynman technique, named after the brilliant physicist Richard Feynman. It's deceptively simple, but incredibly powerful. John, basically, you pick a concept you're trying to learn, and you explain it to someone as if you were teaching it to them. And I don't mean just reciting the definition from the textbook, I mean really breaking it down, using simple language and coming up with your own examples and analogies. Another great active learning strategy is to create concept maps or mind maps. This involves visually organizing information by connecting different ideas and concepts with lines and arrows. It's a great way to see the big picture, identify relationships between different pieces of information, and make the material more memorable. John, and hey, if you're a visual learner like me, try drawing diagrams or even doodling in your notes. Sometimes translating information into a visual format can make it much easier to understand and remember. We've all been there, staring at our textbooks like they hold the secrets to the universe, but somehow, our brains would rather be scrolling through memes. It's a universal struggle, but fear not, because this is where the Pomodoro technique swoops in to save the day, or at least save your study session. John, this isn't about making pasta sauce, though I do enjoy a good marinara. This technique is all about time management, and it's simpler than you think. Set a timer for 25 minutes, and I mean really set it. Put your phone on the other side of the room if you have to, because for the next 25 minutes, it's you versus the material. No distractions, no excuses, just pure, unadulterated focus. Now, 25 minutes might not seem like a long time, and that's the beauty of it. It's a bite-sized chunk of time that even the most easily distracted brain can handle. Think of it like sprinting towards academic success, rather than running a marathon of procrastination. And the best part? After every 25-minute sprint, you get a break. A glorious 5-minute reprieve to recharge and come back even stronger. This isn't just some arbitrary number though. Our brains are wired to focus in bursts, and 25 minutes happens to be the sweet spot for most people. But those 5-minute breaks are just as important as the work periods. This isn't the time to get sucked into the black hole of social media or fall down a YouTube rabbit hole, though. We're aiming for mindful breaks that actually refresh your mind. John, so what does a truly rejuvenating 5-minute break look like? Think stretching, walking around, grabbing a healthy snack, or just closing your eyes and taking some deep breaths. The key is to step away from the books, give your brain a breather, and come back to your studies feeling revitalized and ready to tackle the next 25 minutes. The Pomodoro technique isn't just about getting more done in less time, though it does that remarkably well. It's about changing your relationship with studying. It's about breaking down those mental barriers that make homework feel like this insurmountable mountain, and transforming it into a series of manageable hills you can conquer, one Pomodoro at a time. John, and the more you practice this technique, the more you'll find yourself naturally falling into a rhythm of focus and breaks. It becomes almost like a game, a challenge to see how much you can accomplish in each 25-minute burst. And with every completed Pomodoro, you get this little surge of accomplishment, a sense of, hey, I did that, I focused, I worked, and I'm one step closer to finishing this. And that feeling, my friends, is the magic of the Pomodoro technique. It's not just about ticking boxes and racing against the clock, it's about reclaiming your time, taking control of your studies, and proving to yourself that you are capable of focusing, even when it feels impossible. So, set that timer, silence those distractions, and get ready to experience the transformative power of the Pomodoro. Your brain and your grades will thank you for it. Okay, we've talked about breaking down tasks, creating the perfect study space, engaging your brain, and even hacking time itself with the Pomodoro technique. But there's one crucial element we haven't discussed yet: rewarding yourself. John, I know it sounds almost too simple, like something you'd see on a motivational poster with a kitten hanging from a tree branch. But trust me, there's a reason why this concept has stood the test of time. And it all comes down to basic psychology. See, our brains are hardwired to seek out pleasure and avoid pain. It's a survival mechanism, really. But this primal instinct doesn't always translate well to the modern world, especially when it comes to tasks that require delayed gratification like homework. That's where rewards come in. By associating studying with something positive, we're rewiring our brains to see homework not as a chore, but as a stepping stone to something we actually want. John, think about it like training a dog. You use treats, praise, belly rubs, all the good stuff to reinforce the behavior you want to see. Well, our brains aren't that different. We all have our own version of treats and belly rubs, those little things that bring us joy, and by strategically incorporating them into our study routine, we can tap into that same positive reinforcement system. Now the key here is to find rewards that are meaningful to you. This isn't a one-size-fits-all situation. What gets me going might make you yawn. Maybe it's watching an episode of your favorite show guilt-free, knowing you've earned every second of that binge-watching session. Or perhaps it's indulging in a delicious treat, because let's be real, nothing says I conquered that essay quite like a warm chocolate chip cookie, John. The point is, the reward itself isn't as important as the feeling it evokes. It's about creating a positive association with studying, a sense of anticipation and excitement that makes you think, hey, if I power through this chapter, I get to insert your reward here. And that, my friends, is a game changer. Suddenly, homework isn't this looming monster under your bed. It's an opportunity to unlock those little pockets of joy you've sprinkled throughout your day. But remember, balance is key. We're not talking about rewarding yourself with a 3-day Netflix marathon after finishing a single math problem. The scale of the reward should match the scale of the achievement. Finished a challenging assignment? Go for that extra long walk with your dog. Completed an entire chapter? Treat yourself to a movie night with friends. It's about finding that sweet spot where the reward feels earned and motivating without derailing your entire study schedule. John, and here's another pro tip. Don't be afraid to celebrate the small victories too. Sometimes just powering through a particularly grueling study session is a win in itself. So, acknowledge those moments. Pat yourself on the back, metaphorically speaking, of course, unless you're into that sort of thing. The point is, by acknowledging even the smallest accomplishments, you're reinforcing that positive feedback loop, training your brain to crave that sense of achievement. Because that's what this is all about, isn't it? It's not just about getting good grades, though those are certainly a nice bonus. It's about cultivating a healthy relationship with learning, about finding joy in the process, and developing the self-discipline and motivation to achieve your goals. And by incorporating rewards into your study routine, you're not just making homework more bearable. You're setting yourself up for a lifetime of success, one well-deserved reward at a time. And there you have it, folks. 5 steps that might just change your homework game forever. We've covered a lot of ground, from breaking down those monstrous tasks into bite-sized pieces, to creating a study sanctuary that would make even the most easily distracted brain want to settle down and focus. We've talked about the power of active learning, the magic of the Pomodoro technique, and the importance of rewarding yourself along the way. John, through these steps, I transformed. I became more organized, disciplined, and confident. Homework is no longer a source of stress but an opportunity for growth. Remember John from the beginning of this video? The one drowning in textbooks, fueled by caffeine and running on fumes of procrastination? Well, he's gone through a metamorphosis, and it all started with these 5 simple steps. John, these 5 steps changed my life. I feel more in control, less stressed, and ready to tackle whatever comes next. If you're struggling like I was, give these steps a try. You might just surprise yourself. He's living proof that it's not about some innate talent or superhuman willpower. It's about finding what works for you, building sustainable habits, and celebrating every victory along the way. So what are you waiting for? Try them out, and let us know how they work for you. Your journey to better habits starts today.